Welcome everybody to this second session and the continuation of this wonderful teaching from Dzigar Kongtrul Rinpoche on the commentary to the Heart Sūtra by Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo. Rinpoche, thank you again so much for agreeing to teach for us, and thank you for teaching over 2 days and for giving us such an opportunity to really delve into the Heart Sutra and this wonderful commentary. So again, I request you to turn the wheel of Dharma, and I hand over to you. Thank you so much. I would like to request all the participants here to generate bodhicitta before we begin this 2-day teachings on all the Buddhas of the past and the present,
and the future's one and only path to awaken to the state of enlightenment. The Mother Prajna Paramita, the mother of all the four Aryas, and Mother Prajna Paramita, in a sense, is the universal nature that is ultimate state of enlightenment. And this state of enlightenment is also the so-called natural disposition, rising generic, and the difference between it being a state of enlightenment versus it being the natural disposition, it's only subjective experience when it is under the obscuration. It is understood as a natural disposition, and when that obscuration is purified, then it is fully awakened, enlightened state, called the Dharmakaya, from its own side, outside of the subjective experience, what it makes to be our disposition and what it makes to be in a state of complete enlightenment. From its own side, there's no really differences between the two at all, because it is non-differentiable, so to speak. It's non-differentiable because it is the suchness, the absolute truth. So in this way, we can understand the Lord Matthias, the profound three reasonings of why all living beings do have the potential to become enlightened. In the Mahayana Buddha Tantra Shastra, as he explains in this way, when it's inside the obscuration, so to speak, it is, however, enlightened by nature, but that enlightened nature, since it is obscured by the obscurations, emotional obscurations, cognitive obscurations, habitual obscurations, therefore then the obscuration sort of takes over of the lives of the sentient beings and does do the wrong to the sentient beings, while they are in essence being enlightened, does not have so much of an great outcomes as it is in the case of somebody who is free of obscurations. So, more Lords have spoken as ineffective enlightened state. Dhartakva, sort of. When we say sentient beings are enlightened, it is true, but ineffective. So it's sort of we cannot take that as a definitive. Now, when the obscuration is purified and there is no more longer obscurations whatsoever in the state of enlightenment, then it is definitive and it is effective and it is endowed with all the qualities. And at that time, the obscuration is annihilated fully. Irreversibly annihilated. Now, in the Mahayana, the idea of the annihilation or purification of the obscuration is slightly different from the Hinayanas or from the Shavakayanas point of view. And so I may speak a little bit on that. How it is different is just like in the ordinary lives of ourselves. How would I say? If we are ill, we take medication. So there's the illness in the mind of the Sojutyo or the ordinary beings. Illness is experienced as a real. And then there's the there's the medication that you take to relieve the illness. And then in the Sojutyo mind or ordinary being's mind, the medication is also real. And then the workings between the medication and the illness as one power over the other, however the nature has provided, slowly the medication has the more power, so to speak, to overcome the illness. And the process is also real. and overcoming, in the end, the illness, the state of the freedom, is also understood as a real. The real meaning, there's a sort of like an understanding that it's objectifiable, and it's happening sort of outside of one's makings, or it's sort of nothing to do with your own kind of a state of mind as the base of that. So, of course, without the state of mind, there's not going to be a sense of being, and so state of mind is understood as a part of the being who experiences, but the illness and so forth, everything is somewhat of an objectifiable, diagnosable, and very much kind of like there as a real. So the Hinayana version of obscurations, as well as also the remedy and the fight between the remedy and the obscurations, are sort of in that way, because they are realist school. So there's a sense of everything being kind of real in that sense. Now, in the case of the Mahayana, because of the emptiness view, as from the very kind of early onwards, from the Soglam, from the accumulations of the merit, that also has the 3 stages. From the beginning of that, the hearing wisdom of the emptiness has to be somewhat as a part of the path, and then of course followed with the contemplative wisdom, and then with the meditative wisdom. So there's the understanding of emptiness, and with the view of the emptiness, obscuration is understood to be somewhat of an in the term, in the this philosophy, Seta Mijiva Shiva. Seta Mijiva Shiva means that obscuration is from the beginning unborn. It's not there. It's there only subjectively, with one's own mind being in the state of deep mental fog, dimuk, or dimuk, sort of translated into a deep mental fog, allows you to sort of not see the nature as it is, and then also gets you confused, and then therefore sort of you have a mental sort of delusional experience of all this so-called the samsara. But if the dimuk is not there, nature being emptiness, all things is basically, two truths being union, all things are going to be dreamlike experience. Milamtav, Jumatav. Juma means display of a magician's display. appearances that are in appearance you could enjoy and you could see, and then you could experience whatever the appearance are there to see and experience. But in reality, when you examine, when you press on finding the reality, there's not going to be a reality to be found. Sangha means when you examine, but there's not going to be anything to be found. And not being anything found, also it's not like when you examine, it's not, of course, found. But that's only not it. It's always that way. Otherwise, as Chandakirti has stated in the Madhyamika Avatara, only mupunjijur, emptiness. If upon examining or upon the reasonings of the great Madhyamika, if somehow you change, you alter the nature of phenomena as it is, then the emptiness is a sort of like making the nature to be different than what it is. And if that is the case, then the great peace is not found in the nature as it is. And then just universally speaking, it is not possible for all to attain enlightenment or great peace by upon waking up to the nature. It will be seldom in that way, individual. So it's more like, with the true cause and the four conditions, that we are in the samsara and we are deluded. And of course, the true cause is going to be the co-emergent ignorant, that which sort of passively doesn't allow us to see the nature as it is. Co-emergent meaning it comes with the nature, like a rock comes with a diamond. No. So in that way, it's a sort of co-emergent along with the wisdom itself. A fruit comes with the skin of the fruit itself. It's a part of the nature's design in that way. And then there's the random label ignorance. Tenjichibi Maripa, Kundaki Maripa. Tenjichibi Maripa is the co-emergent ignorance, and then the Kundaki Maripa is the random label ignorance. Now then, as I said, it's an active kind of a state of confusions. The duality of projecting something out there as an object and something here as a subjective mind, and then holding the object alienated from the subject as an others, and then the subject here being assumed as an self. So there is that. And then four conditions. Four conditions is very helpful to understand. In the Tibetan, we have Juichen, the condition of the cause, which is the ignorant itself. And then Mikpichen. Mikpichen means in order for you to get sort of tripped out, there has to be some kind of thing you have to be seeing, or the appearance, that you have to kind of like encounter, something that you focus to kind of go off the rail, so to speak, into your own delusional state. So that is the the appearance. And then Dagbujin is the kind of the self with a sort of passion to enhance the state of the well-being of the self. And then the self that is trying to protect itself from the kind of threats to reject and avoid. So that self is the Dagbujin. Now, when those three things comes together, then the delusion happens. Now, in a simple way to explain, be like a movie or or mistaking a rope as a snake. Traditionally, mistaking a rope as a snake is what the traditional way of explaining is. So when you enter into a room and there's a rope lying, and then the dimness of the room, your eyes by nature being kind of not very sharp, would be kind of the first condition. And then seeing something there, the rope lying on the ground, would be the kind of the second, the Mikbujin. And the Dagbujin is your phobia, the self being quite afraid of the snake itself. And all those three things comes, and you're into it, and as soon as the thought arises, oh, there's a snake inside, you're being panicked. And then you're kind of like being hysterical. So, in that way, the sort of all of the things happens, what's in the world, in the samsara, with the two causes, the four conditions. But upon examining, there's not going to be a snake, neither if you actually take the strings up away from the rope, there's not going to be a rope, and there's not going to be a string in the end at all. It's only in the mere appearance all of this is there. I mean, this is very obvious now for us because we are in the 21st century, and we have things like a movie. We go in knowing that it's all going to be a light show. But however, when we sit down, we kind of like dupe ourselves to enjoy the movie. So then we are kind of like hoping to have that internal experience of watching the movie. So that would be kind of like the Juijin, And then on the screen, the colors and the shapes and forms, appears. So that would be the Mikbujin. And then the Dagbujin is going to be the kind of a sense of the self, watching, and then watching the movie with the sort of like, characters in there and identifying the characters, right? And then story is unfolding. And as the story unfolds, then we become a bias, to the heroes, and we become passionate about what the heroes are doing and pro-heroes, and then against the villains, and then we get aggressive towards the villain. And then when sometimes the heroes are in trouble and the villains are kind of winning, we get very stressed out. So it's all like that happens in experience, but in reality, there's nothing happening. outside of just being on the seat and sit in front of a screen with light shows, it's absolutely all self-created in the sense, with the power of mind and with the sort of all this two cause and four relations. So from the beginning, from the two truths point of view, from the Buddhas, everything is unborn. Java-mepa. And if you could awaken to the nature that is Java-mepa, then you come to see how all things are mere appearance, nang-sam, ming-sam, just designated with merely in the relative deserving appreciation with a certain kind of relevance and to abide, to do good, to bring oneself out of the miseries. And then if you do that effectively, you want to do that for others as well. While one is able to awake oneself fully without having the impulse, the sweet nature, the tender nature, and the compassionate nature to help others is just impossible. Impossible, because the essence of awakening is realization of selflessness. Since there's no self to be based upon, compassion is automatically going to come as in a sort of like a response, as an after effects of awakened state to the nature. So Chimpa leads to Tsewa in that way. And the Tsewa then leads to the teaching, turning the wheel of the teaching. And then teaching then becomes a sort of like effective to help others to obtain the state that the Buddhas have obtained in that way. So in that way, Seda Mijiva Shiva is a very, very important idea to keep in one's mind. Everything being unborn from the beginning. Samsara is just a subjective mind, experience of deep mental fog. And if one can sort of come out of the deep mental fog, then, there's nothing to be done in the sense of, ultimate peace and ultimate awakened state. Ultimate peace and awakened state is spontaneously present in the nature itself. It's the very profound meaning of the Mahayana teachings. And that's why in the Abhisamaya Alankara, it is stated, just in this section, there's nothing to be removed. Like if you're driving fast on the highway and seemingly there's a pool of water, but it is a mirage, you don't slow down. You go with the same speed, knowing that there's no water. However, it seems like it's there. It doesn't threaten you in any way. So ultimately, from the ultimate point of view, there's nothing to be removed as an observations in that way. Shantideva states, says the obscurations, the afflictive emotions, where are they? They're not in the objects, they're not in your organs, they're not in between, they're not somewhere else. Also, how does it actually, ultimately speaking, upon examining, it hurts anyone? There's nothing to, be feared. It is just, in the state of deep mental fog, we are affected in that way. Also in the Chamanamdel, it states, Semjina Jivasalvena, Nimongo Masikshin. The nature of the mind is luminous, and the obscuration and all of the kind of the sense of assuming reality in there is not to be found ultimately as well. So in this way, then, Mother Prajna Pramita, the ground and the path and the pollution, all to be understood as one kind of experience of, as in the Mahayana Buddha Tantra Shastra, we should understand. It states, Mada Mada Tawata Shindu Namda Torinji, Simjin Sanju Simbani, the Yehibahijudo. The disposition goes through the three phases naturally. It goes through the phase of being obscured, fully obscured, and then it goes through the stage of partially obscured, partially purified. And then it goes through that phase for some time, and then comes to completely being purified with obscurations. So that's kind of the natural disposition, this sort of timetable of its a kind of successions over the, of course, long time, but hopefully not that long for all of us, because we are not only endowed with a natural disposition, Ranjaniri, but we have the Jinju Girik. Jinju Girik is, the development disposition. Development disposition in the Hinayana, it is someone who's very sort of Jangri Juni, who's very modest and who's very with a little needs and much contentment, wants to pursue the spiritual path, is what it is. The kind of awakening of the development disposition. In the Mahayana, it is, with the some level of renunciation towards the whole of the circulate, world of the samsara, and then awakening the bodhicitta within, that of the aspiration bodhicitta, which is a wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. Like in the Bodhisattva Avatara Shantideva states, Lord did and boy, Sadachita Shivata. Like you have an intention to go somewhere. And then, without that intention, you never can begin the journey. So, like the intention that for the benefit of, all living beings, for your mother, how much they are suffering in the state of delusion, in the samsara. You want, as a kind of an outcome of your immense compassion for them, you want to do something. And ultimately, doing something would be trying to bring them to a state of great nirvana, a peace. That is universal. So you have to have that compassion as the aspiration bodhisattva, as a one prong. And then the other side of that is the solution. The solution for that to happen real is to sort of awaken yourself to the nature itself. We do such things. So there has to be that wisdom to kind of understand how that's possible. So as it is stated in the so you need to have that compassion and the wisdom kind of working together for you to sort of make that aspiration to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. So from there, then the Tsolam Chung, that development disposition is awakened. And then the paramita practice is being engaged, and then hopefully, once a great teacher has said to me, which is very helpful for me, once you have come to the path like this, you should be very encouraged, because how long ever it takes, it's not going to take more than 100 lifetimes. It's very foreseeable to make a progress in one lifetime, a 1%. If you make a 1% progress in one life, it's going to be only 100 lives to attain enlightenment. So from the beginning, in that way, the core touching means the samsara is coming closer to end for oneself. 100 days can go very fast if you are focused, passionate, if you are very kind of motivated, right, to involve yourself in something. Like that, 100 lifetimes can go very easily in the kind of practice of the Bodhisattva, Longchen Jigme Samten Ling, in the kind of completion of the merit and wisdom, training yourself in helping the beings as in a sort of prelude to becoming enlightened. And then the Xingong Zhujiawa. Xingong Zhujiawa is seeing how all is based on your mind, and if you purify your mind, that enlightened, world is right here, and it's not somewhere else. This is the kind of the specifications, the greatness of the Mahāyāna, in that way. But it has to come from this kind of Mahayana view, Xinjiangwa, Xinkamjiangwa, in that way. So 100 lifetimes can go very fast. So we are all called touching in that way. Otherwise, if you don't have that disposition of the development, it can go on for a long time. Who knows how long? And then also, if you have some understanding of the emptiness and then some sort of strength that comes from it, from inside, for you to be able to, mostly not so much kind of a fear of something happening to you from outside, but not to be so kind of gullible with your own sort of reactions that sort of like comes up, because you have a sort of understanding as how you could work with your own reactions that comes up inside. Tendel is always going to be there. The dependent origination is always going to be there. But the main thing is, if you have a handle on your own mind and emotions and the reactions that it brings up with the some view of the emptiness, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's all workable. So in that way, if you have some strength inside of you, that is the kind of the warmth of the practice of the emptiness. Otherwise, you could be very genius, like have a great high IQ, like Einstein. But when it comes to your own emotions, most probably frustration and disappointment, and as well as anger, could be very much part of life and not something one have an incentive to work with, or could relatively work with without some kind of like a self-awareness and the emptiness view of the emotion itself. It's very difficult. So these are the kind of the perks of being a Dhamma practitioner, I feel. So when you get to that, then you do not go down to the lower realms. It is stated that with some warmth and forbearance, that is outcome of the emptiness view, you would not go down. And then in the Matthias dedication prayers, you always are going to be sort of not regress down into the unfavorable birth. You always will be assuming a favorable birth. And then in the favorable birth, old age, sickness, and death, all is going to be somewhat, workable, and not maybe perhaps workable, but enjoyable to assume the lives of a human or any other celestial realms that you could possibly progress yourself on the path. Would be a very, very sort of a wonderful kind of engagement till you attain enlightenment. And then also, as far as the spiritual friend is concerned, in the beginning you have a human spiritual friend, Susuchiva spiritual friend. Then you have the Bodhisattva spiritual friend. Then you have the Bhagavan as a spiritual friend, mostly coming to your own kind of like visions and your own dreams to guide you, like Dr. Mu, the Bodhisattva, Dr. Mu, the Bodhisattva who cries, always stories in the words of my perfect teacher. So these are sort of like some of the today's relevant, and then to get into the text itself. We left it yesterday on the end of how path is also path as a Four Noble Truths. In there, also 37 practices of the Bodhisattva, and also 5 paths as a base for those 37 practices to be practiced, are all essentially have to understand as a Jumataru, illusory as well. Arya Nagarjuna has stated, Samar meba matoba, chuji tabra meba su, tasi chuji tikinga, then it's hard to mala. Fixation on a reality has to be not there in order for one to attain a state of great peace. Therefore, Buddha, you, in the Mahayana, you have spoken how to comprehend that fully with the complete teachings on that, which means ground path evolution, all being, Deni Sunduk, emptiness, and appearance being union, and absolute and relative truth being union. And just as you purify your own state, how world changes right there, improving to a higher and higher level, like, one glass of water being, depending on the state of the mind, being how it's purified or better in relation to others, lower than yourself, how you perceive more, suitable to you. So enlightenment in that way, it's not something outside. It's sort of something to be, as it was that the Tantra it is stated, from all 10 directions, if you search for enlightened, you cannot find. Not only you don't find it, even the Buddhas would not find it. It is your own innate nature that is enlightened. So, settle with that, so to speak. Well, today then we go into the yin zuni tabilon de ribi sungu de timi chembi ramjula shadu se yishime deda de samo yungru doguda tabilu sanji chuju ko thwa le yin de tadu de top de me de tobame unja shi chuku de so yang de be ba rang zal dang ko de jumthul runje de ba changji Dönü bir sırama tobayan da vade baba lülüce kanji jingi tumar mayi randa yin la pimba punzo chengu yijruba mumi nimi ngubo ma yin nangba yindo ronyam obarka ve rangi chen kuba meji namjur meba higi minim nyamba chaba tumi ba soso rangi reza jawanan chuchu de la dani chamsa lo shi sumba shendos.
We are at the bottom of page 9, reading from the text titled The Light of Definitive Meaning, a Lamp that Illuminates the Profound Perfection of Wisdom by Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo. Since the pristine wisdom of awareness merges inseparably with basic space, the primordially pure expanse, there is no arising of an interdependently existing pristine wisdom of awakened knowledge. It therefore states that there is no pristine wisdom. Because there is no other ultimate primordial result to be attained apart from seeing this profound and perfect reality, the natural state with nothing added and nothing removed, the Dharmakaya of the Buddhas, it states there is no attainment. Yet, because the expressive power inherent within the perfect discerning awareness of the Dharmakaya of the natural state is complete, with the spontaneously present illusory display of the kayas and pristine wisdoms, having the capacity to display them, it says also no non-attainment. As Nagarjuna states, neither one nor many, it is the basis for vast and perfect benefit for oneself and others. Neither a non-entity nor an entity, like space, its equal taste is difficult to discern. Untainted and unchanging, it is peace, unequaled, pervasive, free of elaborations, and must be known by oneself. To the Dharmakaya of the Victorious One, I bow in homage. The expression of praise.
So now that kind of finishes the ground path and fruition. Then it goes into Sumbalani, Lamla Nebanam, Namdela, Lam Gopa, Loba, Melopa, Na Dubanamcha, Dela Madim Tul, Mimbit, Tinpa, Missimit Tulo, Tamboni, Sharibu, Tetavena, Sone, Paras in the Shibabate, Dea, Paldin Nagarjuni, Oma, Shipiting to Tembanye, War Maja, Namchine, Sinjilo, Yatawa, Puntrova, Sumba Yin. Tedara Mubu Nelu Chetavale, Yundujubida to Tavillage, Unjun Haya, Bevis, Rolba Namji Zuk, Daimbada, Da Zuda de Matuzula, Da Never, Dala Zuk never under by Hibo, Le, Yevi, Jitola, when you hit the tele, Jan Sunja to Jew, so soon they will look to Tamja, Kangi, Namjusunda de Bakunga, no what Tini, Yidinja, Ribe, Chomte, De La Zuda Mai. Da ni da jang zu meda bisi da zu mayiti da ni mindu zu jigbe na zu da la no bisi ro te ki da la zu ngo ni che ne jang me no da kindu bi zu la do mindu bisi ro da la zu ngo ni ji yuna da me yin du yang si zu so tong ju ne bisi mi te Namale Zune da ma yin ji sung te da zu da me den zu la da ne min da la zu min ne te te yin do mo la ma yin tong do ji hi sung xin ji ni hi do to ba ran na ti ka pa yu je lo on lu ju le ba le to pa sa o ten san ju ma go ahead.
The expression of praise. This section has two parts. First, how those on the path overcome obstacles by relying on the perfection of wisdom. And second, how all those who have advanced to the level of no more learning have done so by relying on it. How those on the path overcome obstacles by relying on the perfection of wisdom. How those on the path overcome obstacles is taught with the words beginning with Shariputra therefore, until final nirvana. The glorious Nagarjuna states in the letter to a friend, those whose mindfulness is not well established hold a view mistaken in 4 ways and are headed for disaster. In accordance with this quote, there are 4 views asserted by those following non-Buddhist teachings, which perpetuate and increase belief in the self, the origin of karma, which fundamentally deviates from the correct view of the true nature of things. These are, first, form being the self. Second, the self possessing form. Third, the self residing in form. And fourth, form residing in the self. From these are derived the 20 mountain-like views of identity based on the transitory collection of aggregates, and from them 360 erroneous notions, such as those based on desire and so forth. All these are eradicated when awareness is endowed with the 3 yogas and an experience of the 5 aggregates that induces the 4 characteristics. That is to say, form is not the self because the self is regarded as permanent, whereas form is impermanent. And the self is not form because form perishes, contrary to the self's desire, indicating that it has no control over form. Likewise, form cannot intrinsically reside within the self because the self does not have the ability to enter and depart from form at will. If form intrinsically resided within the self, then external forms could not be visible objects without the existence of a self. In the above-mentioned letter to a friend, it is stated, it is taught that form is not the self. The self does not possess form. nor does it reside within form. And form does not reside within the self. In this way, understand the four remaining aggregates to also be empty. If you want to understand these points in detail, consult the commentary on this text by the Indian master Mahamati. Therefore, bodhisattvas dwell.
So now, here, in order to go into the depth of this, it's going to take a long time, but just to say, Jikta Nishu, the 20 ways that we cling to the self. For example, when we say, I go, it seems like we're relating I as this body. And then sometimes when we say, my body, so then it seems like there is a possessor and the body is the possession. So in that way, we also cling. And then sometimes we feel the self is, all pervasively spread in the body, as well as also then sometimes we think, the body is a sort of property of the self. So in the I am Nagarjuna's Mula Madhyamika Kagarika in the examining the Tathagatas, he states, Pumi Pumbo Lejimi, Tela Teme Te Terme, Teginshiba Pundemi, Teginshiba Kanshi in. So he states, the Tathagata is not the skandhas, because the skandhas, how they operate and how they are. For example, skandhas are made of many things, heaps of many things, and also transitory, independently originated, and by nature they are empty. So self is not, perceived that way. So since skandhas, thingy or characteristics and the self's characteristics do not match, so skandhas cannot be self. And outside of the skandhas, then we don't cling to the self in any way in the space. So we have to understand the notion of the self that we assume based on the skandha being the base, and we assume a sense of self being present there, is a merely designated, not as a real thing to find, because it is not, to be found anywhere else. And if it is to be found, it is to be found in the skandha. And the skandha's characteristics and their self-characteristics do not match, basically. In this way, then, like a chariot is designated based on the parts of the chariot, and the chariot kind of coming together without differentiating. So it's like that self is assumed. Now, in the Mahayana, when you realize emptiness, it is egolessness of the phenomena, as well as also it is the egolessness of the self, both simultaneously as a one. So you can overcome both of the Dendin notion of holding things as a real. So that much. And then to go into furthermore, Ambone Shri Bhuti Tavina from the Thursday days. Okay, that finish. Then Sanju Sumban the Shirap Jabaldus Mukuman de la Nebi, Semi to Diba, Ameba Tong with Zero, Samutunla, Santava Mede, Kisina, Sinchi Lo Gile, number de Zero. Then New do Lana Mayanda was always Sanji compound, do Jorwe Dami, he hit of the 2 corners. Go ahead.
Therefore, bodhisattvas dwell in this realization of the perfection of wisdom, and thereby see that the nature of mind is unobstructed. Their mind has no fear with regard to the profound meaning, because they have completely transcended the 4 distorted views. In this way, they swiftly attain the level of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete awakening.
Now, this is very, very profound and helpful for myself. Sanju Sumana Tuba maybe say, Shiraj Kongtrul Sumala Nede, Samaduba Mechi Taba maybe, Sinjiro Hindu, Yamin and our Sao, which means since with the realization of no obtaining, not non-obtaining, awakened state is being comprehended, Bodhisattva, without any obscuration now, has no fear, and then thus passes into the state of Mahāyāna states. So this is really, really profound, really, really profound, because we have begun, we are in the midst, and then it has to come to an end. So if in the mid you could awaken yourself, then the end is going to be Mahāyāna in that way. The dissolution time. So you could really be very assured in that way, so it's very profound. All ways of mistaking is, holding reality to be existent, non-existent, both, and neither, because those are 4 mental constructs. Universal truth, or the Prajna Paramita, that which is the mother for all 4 areas, is beyond the mental construct, self-illuminating awakened state. Then now goes into the explaining mantra, and it's very simple. Tumba Shri Bhuti. Niba, tu sumdu yubi. Yuhin Hita Hibaji Jawa Nam Jang Shirachi Padusimba, Nila Dana Dobesanji, Kumbania Bahin, the Dubala, Sorami, Jindushi, Samba, Metela, Namji naming Dulsan Yumi, Tejugun Lame, Neva, Neva, Juno, Zome, the Yinam Jason, Judo, Jason Yavaneta, Naja, the Padusim Hashi, so on their body. So I should be about the Amanda, she be Dale, Tana, the Ni, Jovala, Ju, Sarate, and Madan, Jebeda, and the Jovala, Tonga Church. Juza Damje, Dazu, Summer 7, I hear a Jebel Hot, Toma, Nevani, Drew, Bay, Mari, Beduda, Jeta, and I, but Champion, not some money in the Tarin home. Ondo Toza, ye may be Zelana, Madame, Deje, Sunday. Ye Commander Nyambara Seba, Nyambata, Nyambara Seba, Mada, Numalja, Sibi, Da, do Tave, Tamje, Seba, Natumal. Sanjera do Shiva Seba, Da, Jamilu, Tumbi, Serem, Bana, Dimbara Shibra Sade, Shezo, Hadu, Muni, they are done in the Omni, and Shiva, Danam, Java, the was Gadeshi Lamla Maju Sojanam so Lam to Song Gadeni Bane Tolam Tolam to Song Jibeta Paragadane Dene Chodo Song Yolane Para Sangha Dene Dene Yanta Basong Sinzi in the Adavelo Belando Song Buddha Ye Soane Sanju Jitsu Se Belan Jitu Batam Jilenda Bemilo Belanto Tabaki Polo Yamedo Song Dagenami Japan and Dere Yigi and G. La Shivarana Tiwaji Kondo de Jinda,
This can only be accomplished by the power of the realization of the pristine wisdom of selflessness. How all who have advanced to no more learning have done so by relying on the perfection of wisdom. Likewise, all the victorious ones of the three times who have departed, are present, and are yet to come, attain the level of complete awakening by relying on this very perfection of wisdom. In the verses summarizing the perfection of wisdom, it is stated, not dwelling on any phenomenon, they practice without dwelling. Not holding on to anything, they attain the awakening of the Sugatas. The purpose of maintaining the perfection of wisdom through mantra.
So, Loju Tenji Machine, imagine Jundu Juru, as there's a saying. If you don't recount the historical, then, people can think this is something recently made up or one has made up. So therefore, speaking about how the Buddhas of the past and the present and in the future, all is going to not just, yourself, universally have to rely on the Mother Brother and Paramita to be the point of source of awakening. And they do. That's how they do all get enlightened. Then in the mantra section, the Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo's very precise explanation of each words in this way, earlier and here, of course, in depth, it's hard to kind of go into. But if you slowly read and analyze, the very, very sort of, in my view, combinations of the great Madhyamika Zhentong tradition and their great perfection. So, it's very enjoyable. As a kind of like side to that, Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo and Jamyang Kongtrul Rinpoche and Jamyang Rinpoche and all, do agree that second turning and the third turning, both are definitive teachings. From the kind of Rangtong school and the teachers of the Rangtong school, they would say the second turning is, and then not the third turning. And then as from the Zhentong tradition, and then also Zhentong masters, they would say the third turning, but not the first two. But all lamas, they say the second and the third both are definitive teachings. The second is great to kind of dismantle all the shempas, all the kind of like lingering tendencies to hold things as a real would be kind of abolished. And then, of course, the nature as it is has to be not a void, but self illuminating presence. And then the qualities of the self-illuminating presence as an enlightened mind. So both are kind of the two sides of the one coin, they say. So, it's going to be a little bit different from the both schools, Rangdong and the Zhendong both. And then with the great perfection and the Zhendong, the differences is going to be in the, ultimately speaking, in the great perfection, the Kadak is a very much emphasized as the ultimate, right? So that's going to be also very significant.
This can only be accomplished, the purpose of maintaining the perfection of wisdom through mantra is taught from, therefore the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, until Bodhisvaha. From the term mantra, which is ngak in Tibetan, one can derive the meaning, that which protects the mind. Therefore, because it protects from plunging into samsara due to having a mind that clings to the self along with its attributes, and because it leads to the final destination of all paths to be traveled, it is the mantra of the perfection of wisdom. Due to its purity, being free from all elaborations based on the ignorance of beginningless delusion, it is the mantra of great knowledge. Because there is nothing higher to be gained than the natural state of profound emptiness, with nothing added and nothing taken away, it is the unsurpassed mantra. Because it leads to the level of Buddhahood endowed with unequaled qualities, it is the mantra that makes one equal to the unequaled. Because it destroys all forms of the view of a self, which is the root of suffering and the cause and result of conditioned existence, it is the mantra that completely pacifies all suffering. Because these statements are not deceptive, they are not false and should therefore be known as true. The actual meaning of the mantra is as follows. Tadyata means it is like this. Om conveys the meaning of auspiciousness, promise, the highest blessing, and so forth. Gate indicates the attainment of the path of accumulation by ordinary beings who have previously not entered the path. The second gate stands for the progression of the path of accumulation to the path of joining. Paragati means gone far beyond, indicating the progression from the path of joining to the path of seeing. Parasamgati means completely gone beyond, indicating the progression of the path of learning, free from the clinging to attributes. And Bodhisvaha means firm ground of awakening, indicating the permanent, continuous, and immutable attainment of the path of no more learning, which transcends all elaborations of the truth of the path. I will not elaborate on these points in detail here, as I am concerned this explanation might become too long. Those who wish to learn about them should consult the ornament of Mahayana Sutras, its Tika commentary, and other treatises.
Mm-hmm. So, commonly with all three yanas, there's the 5 paths, and the 5 paths are translated into Choglam, Jolam, Tonglam, Gomlam, Milupilam. Choglam is a part of accumulation. Jolam is part of joining. Here it is translated. And then Tonglam is part of seeing. Gomlam is meditation. And then the Miluplam is part of no more learning. Now, part of accumulation is where you generate bodhicitta and begin the path. So that's the kind of beginning of the path, and encouraging here by the Buddha. Gate means we should all enter into the kind of path from ordinary state of mind to someone who's with a renunciation towards all of the suffering of samsara and cycle of existence, into path that leads towards complete Mahanirvana and awakened state with the kind of aspiration of Bodhisattva as a first step. And then, get into sort of more mindful practice. And then second gati is, after the 3 stages of that, then we should get into this sort of, practice of what do you call 4 miracle powers and 4 strength and 4 organs. So that would be the path of joining. Then up to the path of joining, the emptiness view is more sort of within the realm of hearing, within the realm of contemplation, with some denji mental picture. You don't have a direct naked experience. So then gati, paragati, in the time of the paragati, you enter into the path of seeing nakedly without any filter, the conceptual mind. You enjoy the state of the naked, so to speak, of the pramita. And so in there, there is the kind of in meditation, the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths being kind of realized with a certitude. And then in the post meditation, also you have the 7 practices that is related to that. Then from there, then you really purify the emotional obscuration and then the cognitive obscuration. Now in the cognitive obscuration, there's the 9 levels: subtle, gross, subtle, medium, gross level. And then the subtle, medium, subtle, medium, medium, gross, subtle, gross, medium, gross, gross. So when you purify the obscurations, like you wash the cloth that is dirty, the grosser stain comes off much easier. The subtle ones are harder to come out. So you start to work on purifying the cognitive obscurations from the gross, then finish the first level and the second 3 level. It takes up till the 8th boomi. Up till the 8th boomi, it's called therefore impure boomi. There's still some effort. Now from the 8th, then you purify this subtle gross, subtle medium, subtle. So that happens kind of like automatically with the momentum of the previous power of the meditation. So those are called pure boomis, effortless, like a ship with a wind already behind strong sails automatically like that. So then in the end of the 10th boomi, the subtlest subtle cognitive obscuration is purified with a great empowerment that takes place on the head of the Bodhisattva from all the Tathagatas from the 10 directions, and then at once one awakens to the state of enlightenment. And then forever it is in the state of the Dharmakaya. So, gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhi soha, in that way. For 5 paths being kind of like encouraged to be engaged to the healing wisdom in there. Contemplative wisdom and meditative wisdom. In the Buddhism, wisdom is the most important. And then samadhi is required for that. So it's a kind of important. And then for the wisdom and the samadhi to be somewhat successful and to bear fruit, the moral discipline is very important. So that's why then moral discipline is there. But out of the 3, the wisdom is the most important. Therefore, we have the kind of 3 Tripitakas, Vinaya, Sutra, and the Abhidharma. And then also we have the training in the moral discipline, and the training in the concentration, and training in the wisdom. In the 6 paramitas, first 3 are moral discipline, and then the 5th is the training in the concentration, and the 6th is training in the wisdom, and then the 4th is helpful for both in all. So in meditation and the post-meditation, in all of the 3 disciplines. So that then concludes the kind of like the bulk of the main part, the Jung. And then now the conclusion here is Tumba Shari Buddha from the Labar Sawa Shibe Patene Sanjusma Kansuda that the Watam J. Chom Shi Sermedo Vishira Japanusma Samon Dita Wuchini and Labar Sawa Shiba. He is Samoshi Dinch and the Jeton by the Sharibus and Jusma Kang Sanjuto Semchin and Kalpa Kangaroo, the Saman, the Jimba Sen, Chutum Song, to do something like Nabarika, the Jache, Yang Tabarashu, Parajujin, and the Vayant of Bongo Sanja, Semchi, Semchi, Jibarajuja, Tade, here the person, the Yumsuma, then get up. Keba dan tawa jun de da nin du ji sang ran sang ji sa long wo xie na ta ji lam ngo de de me de ju ram nyam na ma ye de lan de dan ne sa mo de ni to pra sa ri che du che du de jun ju le lan de da tham ne to ba xie lab de de so xi be Zhang Xi Su, Yuan de Dene, Zhong Dian de Ding Ding Le Yin de Yin Xi Ba Nam de Jisu Ye Rang Wa Paro, Deng Baba Jin de Zida, Da Zhong Xia Li Bu Ni Bu De Wa de Len Do Bi Zu Jie Song Ba de Ye Wei Du Ji Da Yin Yang. Yin Xin de Dene, Zhe Zong Me Ba Ni Du Den Wei Zi De Gi Ba Tam Jie Jia De Ge Song Ba De Yi Su Me Ba De Tam Jie Jia Jisu Ye Rang Wa De Du Xi Ma Ba Jue Do. Tumba Juge Tene, Jumden Deji, Shivan, Mumba Dodo, Shiba, and four Namje Setsum, Sekin, Bobaji, Bitsik de Ge, Jigazaba, the Lu, Bitota, Tamje, and Gashin, Bune, Gobe, Sanje, Yunde, Mumba Dodo, Shebe, Dando, the Dagi, Kongoge, Samje, with Singam, and Usa, so Tobalave Mamus, or the. Go ahead.
The instruction to train in the cultivation of the perfection of wisdom. The sentence, Shariputra, this is how great bodhisattvas must train in the profound perfection of wisdom, teaches that to demolish all mountain-like views based on belief in a self, a bodhisattva must unequivocally train in this profound, irreversible perfection of wisdom. As to why it is described as profound, the perfection of wisdom in 8,000 lines explains, Shariputra, bodhisattvas who have given rise to bodhicitta may practice generosity, guard their discipline, accomplish patience, exert diligence, and abide in meditative absorption, doing so extensively and perfectly for as many aeons as there are grains of sand in the Ganges River, and greatly amplify their resolve to attain unsurpassed, perfect, and complete awakening. However, if these practices are not perfectly integrated with the perfection of wisdom and lack skillful means, these bodhisattvas will fall to the level of a Shravaka or a Pratyeka Buddha. However, this does not mean that the 5 paths of skillful means are meaningless. The purpose of these subsidiary practices is precisely to facilitate the realization of the meaning of the profound. As it is taught in the way of the Bodhisattva, all these branches were taught by the sage for the sake of wisdom. The expression of praise following the teaching. The section beginning with, then the Bhagavan arose from that samadhi until the Tathagatas will also rejoice, shows that there is no need to doubt the legitimacy of this teaching given in the form of a dialogue between noble Avalokiteshvara and the Arhat Shariputra. For this reason, Avalokiteshvara's words are praised by stating that all Tathagatas each in exactly the same way, and that they all also rejoice in the teaching. Meaning of the conclusion. The words from after the Bhagavan until praised what the Bhagavan had said were spoken to remove doubt regarding the retinue and to generate confidence, stating that all the various assemblies in attendance were filled with joy and delight, and that they respectfully praised the qualities of the Buddha. Since the words preceding and following the passages explained here, as well as the translator's colophon, are easy to understand, I will not explain them here. Appendix.
Mogoni do Jutamjene Mumami, Mogoni do Yetemba, Tara, Mondo Mebagi, Pumanga, Wang Shi, to be Mabu between something which about Noah. Tinigi Dame, Bear, Tomba, Nitini, Janganesum, Tanya, Taris, Samameban. Teta he to the legend in the law, Sadalan, Jobe, Posumcheto, and the Kundu, may bear dancing. Mangada Gumbamundo Juba, the Tomba, the Jumden, the Hirapchi, Barudos, Bandanaka. Gumbala, so Jumden, the Hirapchi, Barudos, Mandam, Chutamjim, Gumbala, so I get to the end or to the Tonga, Palm, Baratasum. Nasan Jume Hira Baros and Jabe, Yumdo, Chibena, Della Condo Sanji Gendevu here, talk to her, made number never hears about the Duvaratan, Hira Baros and Joe. Making and Jews and Ban, Miss and Jews and me to get to near Mumbai, Jam, Metabasan, Jews and Ban. And Batagum, they were choosing about the number that was to Jula, that to be now at the simply say, that was on a whole chum, the Junju, just as I could read them at the council, the Papera, and minute to think about it. Only the hero of contact do the true. Zali bara, bara sang, some Jimmy Job, number of judges, the mother of the senior number. Jimmy Zuzuna, Danjana, in Judah, Hara, what I'm jet, that's one you made a child, ye jet, or Tamdo Sebeta, yes, Brasa, the hero of the Pardos, Majet, Umbara, just much more, you down and do the some Dujiri, they to Baraka, they Nibo Gang the Sunjian Tam Je, Yumadong, Indian Dongin Jimbo Juju, some of what you should have they are Joa simply Jesus Madame Year on board, you don't want you to die in a good and Kame John Dambo Dama Yen, the mercy with Dilla, same did in the Amazon Jessamana Hindu, there are two attempts in here. Also, I do obviously near Janganes and letter. Dodo Jua, they are some Jimmy Javi, given the and every don't how you or something to do to or Chudia, the Dodo good and every doing ceremony of a ton and Dodo the week about in general, Dala Hirabos. The Barazum between the help on the main room and good. Only the under the Jibal on the Fong Jang Sunam so Sunam Chu Chodo Julius and the year Lord to do about the Gajin here, Mazova, use them. Now, Khyentse Khyentse Wangpo gives a good instruction on how to do the practice of the Mother Prajna Paramita here, and we could all meditate as Jennifer reads on to this, and then I think that would be a great blessing, mingling our mind with the Khyentse Wangpo and Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, and so in that way, then we could actually hopefully get blessings of this profound writing.
Appendix: the practice of the perfection of wisdom. I will now briefly elaborate on the practice of the perfection of wisdom. It is stated in the middle-length Prajnaparamita. Subhuti: in this way, all phenomena have emptiness as their intrinsic nature. All phenomena have the absence of attributes as their intrinsic nature. And all phenomena have the absence of aims as their intrinsic nature. As mentioned earlier, the experience of the inconceivable dharmata, which is unsullied by the elaborations of the five aggregates and the sense consciousnesses, is emptiness in the sense of selflessness, endowed with the four characteristics, because it is free of the conventional designations of arising, ceasing, and abiding. The absence of attributes means that by placing the mind free of activity on this fundamental nature free of elaborations, all conceptual thoughts of the three spheres dissipate into natural, uncontrived radiance, and the space-like primordial perspective becomes apparent. This is expressed by statements such as the following from the Perfection of Wisdom in 8,000 lines. Bhagavan, this perfection of wisdom is like the cultivation of space. In this way, this perfection of wisdom is the non-cultivation of all phenomenon. Achieving perfect familiarization with profound emptiness in a manner that is beyond meeting and parting, one directly encounters the true face of the indescribable, inconceivable, and ineffable perfection of wisdom, the mother of the victorious ones of the three times. Since there is no higher resultant state of awakening to be attained, it is referred to as the absence of aims. In the verses summarizing the perfection of wisdom, it is stated, the supreme perfection of wisdom is not observed, neither are the bodhisattvas, nor is bodhicitta. Having heard these words, the bodhisattva engages in the wisdom of the Sukata, undiluted and without fear. These three are also posited as view, meditation, and fruition, respectively, and referred to as the three gates of liberation. All deluded appearances are fashioned by the mind, and it is due to clinging to these phenomena as possessing inherent identity, even though they are devoid of essence, that beings wander in samsara. The way of the Bodhisattva states, "Who made the burning iron ground? Where do these blazing fires come from? All these arise from a malicious mind," the sage declared. The modes of engagement and disengagement related to samsara and nirvana are perfectly complete within the fundamental reality of emptiness. Therefore, in meditation, rest in this state beyond thought. In the phases of post-meditation, generate great compassion for all those who have not realized this to be so, and embrace all experiences with the skillful means that integrate all appearances into the path. Know all visible forms to be the inseparable union of appearance and emptiness, like the reflection of the moon on water. All audible sounds to be the inseparable union of sound and emptiness, like an echo. And all conceptual thoughts to be the inseparable union of awareness and emptiness, like a magical illusion. The perfection of wisdom in 8,000 lines states, Subhuti, when a bodhisattva possesses two qualities, they can hardly be harmed by the malicious maras or their hordes. Which two, you ask? To never abandon any being and to realize that all phenomenon are emptiness. Elsewhere it is taught, through the practice of emptiness with a core of compassion, the merit of one's deeds is purified. One should read the sutra with this approach to practice. As a preparation, one infuses oneself with the elixir of bodhicitta. The main practice for those of superior faculties consists of reciting the text while resting in the state of ineffable pristine wisdom, the natural state of emptiness, as it really is. Those of middling faculties recite the text knowing all phenomena to be like magical illusions, and those of lesser acumen begin by recalling the meaning of emptiness and then focus their undistracted attention on the sound as they recite it. The practice of dedication then serves as the link between the main practice and the phase of post-meditation. For the practice to be complete, it must include these three excellences. Furthermore, by knowing all phenomena to be the expression of the mind's expressive play, misconceptions regarding the outer world are resolved. By knowing that the nature of the mind is emptiness, free of arising, ceasing, and abiding, misconceptions regarding the inner dimension are resolved. By clearly seeing that the inconceivable, pristine wisdom is naked, empty awareness, free of a cultivating mind and an object to be cultivated, misconceptions regarding the hidden dimension are resolved. This is the essence of all practice, irreversible, direct perception of the ultimate, free of all hope and fear, without anything added, with nothing removed. To break free from the trap of the belief in a self, and to realize the perfection of wisdom beyond elaborations, may all beings swiftly come to directly know the reality of that which is so skillfully taught. Individuals of lesser aptitude who recite the Heart Sūtra will barely catch a glimpse of its meaning. However, with the intention that the merit of their recitation may be enhanced, this extremely abridged commentary that illuminates the profound perfection of wisdom was composed by the young Abhaya at the age of 17, quickly setting down whatever came to mind without consulting other commentaries. May it be beneficial.
So that is it. Now, if I may recite the Heart Sūtra once, as in sort of like all that is kind of shortened in the text to complete. Jagara Kedu Panja Paramita, the Kedu Japas, there's one or years of United in my youth, one of the then suddenly do it on the Kerry was looking for the Kerry body, how like your borders, so much about doing you want how like your borders, so much what you do with the was out the vision of announcements was much important on the get out of the world. Kerry body, how like your borders, so much what you do with the number of 구멍을 어디다 이게 동안 남아 양도 just 또 동안이 무슨 뭐래 동안이 이게 많이 나 동안이 자고 이게 많이 나 되기는 도와다 이게 다 나오는 거 결국 대단히 주된 동반이 스님은 어디 봐뭐 와도 뭐 결국 대단 동안이 보면 이게 맨 하면 이가면 이제 가면 이제 너무 힘이 편히 벌도 안 내도 말아봤네 말아봐서 오늘 그래서 말아봐서 되게 하나 요하나 뭐 달라네 이게 또 보면 또 내도 결국 대단 나선 요즘은 돈 뮤직 이렇게 벌도 말이는 좀 보는 수요일에 요즘 요즘 남들 이제 벌도 와는 그래서 뭐 선제도 대단한 그렇게 그래서 하 뭐지 뭐 하는 거 하면 되는 the Bola, the Bola Sanga, the Buddhist, so I care about this was much of the sense was much important. There's all years also now less or less or about the know about the 나게 되면 친구가 지랑 문제라는 문제도 인정을 해야 되고 그래서 뭐 이라서 측하들이 되버린 류들이라서 어떻게 나게 그래서 뭐 이라서 측하들이 류들이 저 너와주면 와주지 해가지고 강도 땡긴다고 완전 너무하는 거죠. 제발 어떤 너무 많은 거 같은데 좀 주반이 있어. 노베서 이제 담바데라 창조하고 나선 주미셔라 바로서 마지막에 남긴 거 소소하게 기주 또 숨겨위라 창조하고 By this merit, may I obtain omniscience, may defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, all its sickness and death from the ocean of Samsara, may emulating hero, Manjushri, some of the body. I do make a perfect dedication of all. May Bodhicitta, precious and sublime arise where it has not yet come to be weighed, but will flourish evermore and more. Thank you, all of you, making the time to come to join this section of the sessions of teachings on the Prajna Pramita. Thank you, Dharma, for making this possible. Good day to you all, and good health to you all.
Rinpoche, thank you so much for your kindness and your extraordinary teaching. We really appreciate it from the depths of our heart.
It's my pleasure.
Please teach for us again. It was so wonderful to have you teach for Khyentse Vision Project. Please, we would love you to teach regularly. Rinpoche, do you have any time for a couple of questions?
I think we're just out of time.
Okay, all right, Rinpoche.
Thank you. I have somebody coming.
Okay. Thank you so much again, Rinpoche, and we hope to see you again very soon.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody so much for coming to these precious teachings. The recordings of both days will be available on our YouTube channel. You just have to go to the live stream playlist. In the meantime, we encourage you to check out our reading room, khyentsevision.org, to find all kinds of wonderful translations of these precious texts by Khyentse Wangpo.